Greetings all and welcome back to some Starsector, the game where it's perfectly acceptable to commit genocide just so you don't have to pay your taxes. Today, I plan on not doing that, but instead running the Derelict Empire scenario from the Nexarillion mod. What this does is randomizes the core worlds and gives each faction a single planet. The rest of the galaxy is then owned by the Derelict Empire, which factions can quickly expand into before murdering each other. Our goal in this scenario will be just to survive, because I plan on making this a little bit more of a challenge by adding a few difficulty mods and giving myself crippling debt. Now this start means we have an initial debt of 30k, while also having to make an additional payment of 10,000 credits a month, plus an extra 5k per level, which means by the time we reach level 15, this is gonna suck. Loading into the game, the first thing we did was look at the map. We spawned in the Amuse system, which was the home of the hegemony. Just above this system is where the Persian League resides. With 3 derelict planets that they can easily expand into, they will probably become quite the menace. To the northeast is where the Hazard Mining Incorporation, Iron Shell, and the Knights of Lud are based. Then in the south of the galaxy, we have Tritech, the Star Federation, and the Ludic Church. Alongside this system, that seems to be filled with pirates. Then lastly, to the west, we have the Sindrians, who are sharing their system with both a level 6 and a level 5 Ludic Path world. Unsurprisingly, they have a system bounty which was likely triggered by Ludic Path activity. Shocking that. Now, I generally would go and help them, but for starters, I only have a single lasher, and they also hate me. So, fuck them. In fact, quite a few factions hated us, but we'll have to worry about that later, as we did have to find a way to pay off our initial debt. But that's okay because I had a great idea. Since everyone was going to be actively killing the domain and then each other, why not become salvagers? So we started the game off with the proper modded experience, with a memory leak. Restarting the game, we headed towards the pirate station to see if we could purchase some cheap ships. However, the station was under attack from a fleet of remnant scavengers. To capitalize on the potential loot, I picked up this battered shepherd and patiently waited for something to die. It didn't take long before a Revenant popped out, which is a fancy phase ship valued at about 80,000 credits. Our scrap value was not that. In fact, after scrapping another one, we sold our goodies to the pirates for a grand total of 1,666. It's okay because once the station was destroyed, we were able to salvage the remains and sell it back to the pirates for around 8,000 credits. But the problem now was, the Remnants wanted to kill me. Now I'll sum up this nearly 15-minute fight in about 6 seconds. Jesus Christ. These goddamn interceptors. Alright, let's just get out of here. In the end, I disengaged and crawled back to Daddy Hedge, who ended up killing them for me. But since I did manage to join the fight, I was able to recover a combat freighter with a story point. With our new ship, I was now able to hold a reasonable amount of goods. So after emptying my bank account so I didn't have to give it to the debt collectors, we ventured out to see what else we could find. What we stumbled across was a ship graveyard. Now I know technically it's a memorial, but free ships are free ships. So I salvaged the majority of the ships, then used my remaining story points to recover a couple more of the expensive ones, which combined sold for a grand total of 3,787 credits. They put the carrier up for sale for 55,000. That's a fucking markup and a half. What the? They bought it off me for like 2 grand. Shortly before arriving at the station, our first debt payment was made. Well, kinda. Since we emptied our bank account, we couldn't afford our monthly obligation. So, we now had more debt. Now, let's be honest, it's probably not a very good idea to just keep piling on more debt. So how about this contract from the pirates, who wanted us to survey a probe for 60,000 credits. Now, as previously stated, we are running a few mods that make the game a little more hostile. So upon trying to reach our destination, we were ambushed by both pirates and stray remnants. No, leave me alone. Upon arrival though, I surveyed the probe, got paid, and picked a fight with the defenses, which was generally harder than it should have been, since the only thing I had that could penetrate armor were these swarmer missiles. And it seemed like every single one of these fucking ships had a flare launcher. But it was worth it in the end as we managed to pay off all of our debt. Meaning the only thing we had to worry about now was our monthly obligations. And trying to get home. Oh, for God's sake. Okay, we're gonna have to disengage using our last story point because we can't win that. Upon arriving back to the safety of the core worlds, I decided to try my hand at a little bit of bounty hunting. as Tritech had set up a system bounty due to an increase in piracy. Killing a couple of the scouts, I was able to stack up a little bit of cash and a level up, which was both good and bad since I could pick another skill, but I was now obligated to pay more money. So we killed some more pirates, which was all fun and games until some remnants arrived. They were, however, caught by a detachment, and luckily for us, they got their asses kicked. And Legion, yoink. Unfortunately, I couldn't really afford to crew it, nor could I really afford to store it. And without knowing the location of any abandoned stations, I ended up just selling it for 14,000 credits. Then, just to really rub salt in the wound, I was forced to pay my taxes, which ended up being a total of 6,000 credits, meaning we really just sold that Legion for about an 8k profit. And oh look, it's up for sale for 140. In hindsight, I should have just mothballed it, because I swear to God, the next system I arrived in had an abandoned station in it. I hate this game. To make me feel better though, I murdered some smugglers who were transporting some drugs inside these bananas, and then headed to their destination to sell them for about 25k. This gave me enough money to survive my next couple of debt payments, but it also gave me a great idea. Now, I'm not proud of this one, but I was able to make enough money just to scrape by. How did I do it? Well, by stalking derelict traders until they got caught by a patrol, then conveniently arrived in time to help, giving us a cut of the loot, which sometimes included AI cores, which I was able to sell to Tritech. During this time, we fought an entire catalogue of different domain ships, from basic weapon blocks to funky looking things like this, and some highly advanced objects that fucked me. These fights weren't as easy as you think, because I had a few mods that both buffed the original ships and added some new, more powerful ones. Mods are in the description, so please stop shouting at me. While you're down there though, you can also I did this for about an hour until I spotted an opportunity for a double survey. When I arrived at the system, the first thing I spotted was a Legion, but in the flavor of the Star Federation. Alongside that, we also found a level 5 commander called Warren to go with it. Not trusting myself with such a valuable ship, I put the ship in Warren's warm embrace before heading home to kit the ship out. For weapons, I slapped on 2 high-intensity beams alongside 3 sets of MRM missiles, which I think are kind of like fancy, slightly guided hammers. For hull mods, I built in the ECCM package alongside everyone's favorite reinforced bulkheads, while also having expanded missile racks and a targeting unit. A little later down the line though, I did switch out the expanded missile racks for efficiency overhaul, because this ship was expensive to run. Mostly because of this ship's erratic fuel injector that put this ship's fuel consumption to a massive 23. Now, since this was a Star Federation ship, it did also come with some additional hull mods. Primarily a Zoltan shield, which is basically a second shield, a missile micro-replicator, and also the Federation construction, which does a bunch of stuff which you can read in your own time. Now, the more switched on ones watching this video would have noticed that this ship severely lacks shield penetration. But that's okay, because we were off to kill the domain, because the Luddic Church had thrown up a system bounty and I still desperately needed money. Currently, my debt obligations combined with my fleet upkeep was costing me on average 42,000 credits a month. Thankfully, 2 high-intensity beams are an unshielded ship's worst nightmare. You're getting fucked, buddy. I want your soul so I can sell it. We were able to kill quite a few of the domain fleets, giving us a nice chunk of cash. But the highlight was watching this salvager kill itself trying to kill this star fortress. We then swooped in, killed the station ourselves, giving us a large amount of salvage. But on the downside, 2 additional levels, meaning our next payment was going to be around 55,000 credits. To cover my debts, I thought maybe whoring myself out to one of the factions would be a good idea. Now, I had fallen in love with this Legion, so I thought it was only right that I worked with the Star Federation. Once I arrived at their system though, I found that the pirates had themselves one of the best planets I had ever seen. A Terran world with a hazard rating of 50%, bountiful farmlands, and plentiful organics. This planet alone could probably net us enough money to cover my debts. So I signed a commission with the Star Federation, which gave us access to this fancy commission system thanks to a mod I was running. It's a pretty simple system. The higher the rank you are, the more you get paid, and the more benefits you unlock. All I cared about though was unlocking a permit to govern a planet personally. Now, one of the ways to gain, let's call it, reputation is by killing hostile ships. Unfortunately, we couldn't just go kill domain ships for some reason, but we could kill both Luddic Path and the Sindrians. Speaking of major factions, I took the time to have a little peek at the map. As expected, the Hedge and the Iron Shell had both conquered their systems and were expanding their domain, while the League was still battling for control of their primary system. The rest of the factions had done fuck all. Anyway, I headed off to the Sindrian system and picked a fight with both them and the Luddic Path, and quickly began to stack up some reputation. During this time, we hit the jackpot by attacking a Sindrian trade fleet, which netted us a profit of over 350k. After a couple more battles though, I had tipped over the 600 reputation mark, giving us a promotion to commander. With that, it was time to take that little Terran world off the hands of the pirates, which yeah, with no station or ground defenses was pretty easy. Upon conquering the planet, we purchased a governorship for 129,000 credits, and then the Star Federation sent us a relief fleet. Thanks, guys. With all that done and dusted, I was just sitting back to relax, only to find that the Sindrians wanted revenge. In fact, they were sending a sat bomb composed of 5 strong fleets at the capital of the Star Federation. For those that don't know what a saturation bombardment is, basically, they wanted to kill us all. Of course, we couldn't let this happen. So I made my way over and prepared the defenses. Before the battle had even started, all the defense fleets decided to run headfirst into the Sindrian's navy and die, leaving just us, a couple of random ships, and the Star Fortress to defend. What we were up against was 16 capital ships backed up by a horde of civilian ships. Now I won't lie, this battle was pretty intense. Within the first 30 seconds, the Star Fortress was surrounded by executors. I tried to do a flanking maneuver with the Eradicator, but for some reason, my shields were facing the wrong way. With the Eradicator basically dead, I took personal charge of the Legion and started to make my way up the east side of the station. The strategy I had was a fairly simple one. Since executors are pretty flux inefficient, we just let them tire themselves out trying to kill the station. When they were fully fluxed out, we swooped in and killed them. And I did this over and over. Alright, here goes another one, but there's still more. There's still more of them. They've got to be running out of them soon. They can't keep throwing executors out like this. It's not right. It's not fair. And over again. It was literally just waves of capital ships being thrown at us, to the point where the retreating capital ships couldn't retreat. But after 25 minutes of battle, we finally won. 288 reputation and I can become an admiral? You're damn fucking right I can. I killed, with the station's help, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 executors. They still have another 4 in reserve. So after murdering another 4 capital ships, it was finally over. Like, for real. Well, so I thought. Oh, they are just throwing in the fuel ship. Here come the fuel ships. They are using them to attack me. I am the defender. We are just massacring the civilians at this point. Oh god, we can't do it again. We have to do it again. My ships are so broken. I just have one legion that is just suffering critical. It has 4% combat readiness. Oh god, look at all the fuel ships coming at me. Ah! Oh, reinforcements. Right, apparently the enemy fleet has been defeated, but we're just going to kill as many of them as we can. There are no civilian targets. After massacring their entire civilian navy, we managed to salvage over 1,000 supplies, 2,000 fuel, and a ton of weapons. I also got over 2.7 million experience for that fight, giving us an additional 2 levels. In addition, we also got enough reputation to push us from commander to planetary governor. I must be the most influential man in the Star Federation now, considering I am the reason they're still alive. This is my Cincinnatus moment, alright? I've done my bit for the state. I'm going back to my humble living. You know, if it wasn't for me, the Star Federation wouldn't even have a capital anymore. To be fair, though, they were now paying me a salary of 120,000 credits a month. So, I guess I couldn't really complain too much. Since that was pretty much one of the most intense battles I've had in this game, I thought I'd relax a little bit and do some exploration, completely forgetting that stepping outside the core worlds was an even worse experience. I want to go home. I want to go home. Alright, maybe this system might be a little bit better. Oh god, this one isn't better. This one isn't better. I just want to explore a couple of systems. Why do they all have artillery stations in them? With nearly every system having either an artillery base, a horde of pirates, or a high-risk beacon outside it, I came to terms to the fact that I needed some more ships if I wanted to explore the galaxy. And I thought to myself, why not pick up the autonomous ship perk and pad my fleet out with a few domain ships? Now, there are a whole load of different derelict ships, and I won't lie, about 95% of them are dog shit. But within the sea of trash, there are a couple of gems. One being the Rampart. With a deployment cost of 10, you get 3 large weapon slots and over 2,000 armor. Now, full disclosure here, I am running a mod called All the Domain Drones that slightly buffs all of these ships, but I still stand by my point. This thing fucks. But I couldn't just rely on a horde of automated ships, so I colonized this barren world that was inside our sector with the intention of building some heavy industry. But then I panned over to the Independents, who had an orbital works with a corrupted nanoforge. Now, I know it's like a cardinal sin to murder the Indies, but I wanted that nanoforge. So, we killed them. And took the planet under the banner of the Star Federation. With the planet under our personal governorship, we took a couple of quests to repair relations. One being to find a relic from the past, which ended up being this relic battle cruiser, which was so good I kind of forgot about the whole building my own ships thing. Because this thing came with something called Project Kashmir, which was basically a large antimatter blaster. Yeah, this thing, it was pretty good. This weapon came at the perfect time, as the Star Federation had finally decided to attack someone. However, out of everyone they could have decided to declare war on, it had to be these fuckers, didn't it? But it's okay, because we had Warren's strong, muscular back to carry us to victory. And we defeated their defense fleets and took down their star fortress. Judging by the amount of heavy weapons the Star Federation had brought, I think the ground invasion was under control. With the pirates system now penetrated, I took the opportunity to raid the pirates' other planets and farm up a bunch of blueprints, so I could actually use all of the heavy industry we had acquired as a faction. While I was raiding the pirates, on the same day, both the Legio and the Domain were killed. Now, I hadn't looked at the galaxy map for a little while, so it was a bit of a shock to see that both the Luddic Church and the Knights of Lud were dead. In fact, looking at the map, as predicted, it seemed that the Greater Hegemony were consuming a majority of the galaxy, alongside the League, who at this point had allied up with the Sindrians and the Hazard Mining Incorporation. Oh yeah, and speaking of the Sindrians, still having a terrible time dealing with the Luddic Path. Over the next couple of months, I took the time to farm up some more derelict ships. Well, to be honest, it was mostly just more ramparts. With the Domain dead inside the core worlds, I headed out to locate some probes, which led to a survey ship, which then led to a mothership. I then fought wave upon wave of derelict ships until I had farmed up what I wanted. More ramparts, which I stuck to the same design aside from building in the targeting feed and giving them all an alpha core each. Combine that with my small armada of Star Federation ships I'd built, I think it was time for a little war. I would also like to point out that I had also purchased the governorship of the Star Federation's capital, which essentially in my mind makes me the absolute ruler of the faction. And my first directive was to get revenge on the Sindrians, which I was going to do personally. No invasion fleet spam to carry me to victory, just me and my personal retinue, and Warren. I'll be honest, this wasn't really a war, it was more of a mercy killing. It didn't take too long till we were attacking their star fortress, which was a incredibly cringe midline station, and invading their planet. Finally putting the Sindrians out of their misery. With the Sindrians dead, I did the smart thing and allied up with a Greater Hegemony, and joined in the fun of murdering the League. With the game essentially over at this point, I did have a final thing I wanted to do. Murder the Zig. With that, I think we're pretty much done. My debt payments were under control, and I had commandeered a faction for myself. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for watching this video. Thank you to my Patreons, who quite possibly might be the most patient people on the planet. And as always, new videos every